Hello and welcome to episode 264 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and
We've got it. Breaking news, Dad.
okay, what's breaking news?
The best Steeler quarterback of the last 4 years has retired. Duck Hodges has retired from football.
Where was he playing?
Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't stick around for, USFL, XFL. Like, I feel like they could have had you know, he could have been all right in one of those leagues.
Yeah, I think he could have. Speaking of USFL, I did turn that on again yesterday, and they were promoting tickets. You know, if you want to come down and see your team,
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of, how is it really your team? But the Pittsburgh paper is covering it.
Yeah, and the Steelers' Twitter is pleading out, Mahler's logos, the Penguins. I mean, they're getting the city love.
Yeah, except there couldn't have been. Let me think this through now. I don't think there was 3,000 people there yesterday.
Yikes.
I mean, you'd have been hard pressed to fire a shotgun and hit more than 3 people.
Well, in my gym, I have the TV, and I'm usually listening to music on the headphones, and then I usually put the YouTube on, and I'll watch sports highlights just without the sound. And the USFL ones are sort of like just off-brand anything. Like it's just not quite,
Mm-hmm.
like you can tell the receivers aren't quite as fast, and that everything's not quite at, it just, it's.
No, but it's just when you think about the one playing in the one market, right?
Right.
And that's going to cut down on the cost, which I understand. But you're actually, you're in Birmingham, Alabama, which is not a large market,
No.
and you're playing 4 games there every week.
I thought.
You're not going to have very much live attendance at all.
Now, obviously, this goes well beyond my expertise area, but I always figured a city like Orlando or Vegas made a lot more sense because you've got, a dad brings the family down on vacation for 7 days at Disney, and one of the days they go to a USFL game, and you got people from around the country going there every single day, or Vegas where people are coming in all the time. It's a new group of people, so it's like an event. Those cities, I mean, again, I don't know what the logistics are of, cost in the city and the city even wanting that sort of thing, but those two cities stood out as places that made a lot more sense to me if you're going to have one city. And I know there's not an Orlando.
I haven't heard any logic or rationale for it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I know Orlando doesn't have a team, and Vegas doesn't have a team, I don't think. But, I mean, there's a reason to go to, Orlando, Florida. There's a reason to go to Vegas, and you can make that part of your trip. And, I know from people that, selling vacation homes down there for a small amount of time in grad school, people are always looking for something else to do that's not just the parks. So
Yeah, you are looking for some other things to do.
and it felt like,
If you're bringing a whole family down there, you want something for everybody in the family to be able to do and enjoy.
and if you could go to it's still a professional sporting event for pretty cheap tickets. Like that's a fun day away from the parks. That maybe.
Yeah, we're talking like $9, I think.
Yeah.
$10.
Exactly. But, we still, I'll still watch the highlights and, see if it gets a little crisper.
Yeah. Well, I had an unexpected trip to Minneapolis from the last time we talked. So my friends at the Timberwolves said, you need to come up here and see a game. So they helped, they comped me a hotel, and I bought the airfare, and we went up and watched the game. And it was a lot of fun, and it was really, they've only played, I think that was like the 4th game in Minneapolis in playoffs in 18 years or something like that.
Yeah.
They never have won a game 4 before.
No.
So they're 2-2, and this is the furthest they've ever been in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure.
I think it is. As weird as that sounds, yeah.
I know, but I really enjoyed watching John Morant, who, for my money, is the most exciting player to watch in the NBA. And then Anthony Edwards, who I'd never seen play before this series. I've seen now 3 games on TV and 1 game live, and I really like him. I like his game. I like his attitude. I like his, he's the leader on that team, and he combined with Patrick Beverly. Those are 2 pretty much attitude guys that are confident and cocky.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. That's what you need. You need guys that believe in themselves and can and help other people believe in them, and they are that guy.
Yeah. I'm surprised the current owner has not handed out free chicken sandwiches, sort of in a Pat Bev like move.
Well, there was another protest last night. One person dove on the court, and then the other person they I guess figured out they were with them in the stands and went in the stands and got hurt. But it was interesting in that they must have had 12 to 14 security guards around the basket during a timeout, right?
Right.
And so last night they knew that, and so they just, before the timeout was actually in play, before the security got out there, that's when they made their move last night.
Ah.
But, interesting stuff. I mean, it's, I guess we're protesting chickens now.
We are. And
But
it looks
really
like
enjoyable game to watch. I'm glad I went. I'll look forward to watching Game 5 and Game 6.
and the nice thing
It's a good series with interesting players. That's what I like about it.
yeah, and depending on what happens in the Atlanta Miami game, the nice thing about that series between Minnesota and Memphis is it's the non-chalk series happening right now.
Yeah.
Like Milwaukee's up 3-1, Golden State's up 3-1. I know the Suns are up what, 3-2? No. 2-2?
Let's see, 1-1, 2-1, 2-1.
Okay. And
I think 2-1. It
Yeah.
might be 3-1, but I think it's only 2-1.
I think it is 2-1. It was a bummer seeing Luka come back in a weird way. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the world, but that team had just had something going, and it seemed like they sort of fell back into old habits towards the end of that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again,
They lost by a point, right?
yeah, they lost by a point. I know Luka hit that big three down the stretch, but they had such a nice thing going with Brunson and Dinwiddie and just the way that team was playing. And obviously, if you're going to win a championship, you're going to need Luka to be your best player, and he is their best player. But it would have been nice if Luka came back sort of like Steph was coming back into that situation, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Come back, be the
And that's
sixth.
what they talked about. And then they started him.
Yeah.
There's speculation that he would come in off the bench just like Steph. That's what they said. But he didn't, so.
I think that's what's made, as more time has gone on, I've liked Steph more and more. And you look at, whether it was when KG came to that team, like, the city was the one calling it Steph's team. Steph was fine letting KD, get the last, like, Steph just wants to win. And he seems like he'll do whatever's best for the team in the moment. And I think a lot of superstars would not be able to handle Jordan Poole right now with the way that dude's playing and then coming off the bench. If you're Steph Curry, like, LeBron's not coming off that bench.
No, but he should be.
He should be. But, I mean, that just shows you, because Steph Curry's coming off the foot injury. The team was playing really well. And, maybe the best way to integrate himself back in. And, again, I assume if they're going to go to the finals, he's going to be starting. But it's nice to see that kind of ego. Like, that's what you want in a team athlete.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Like, the best way for me to help this team right now, while I'm integrating myself back in after missing a couple weeks with the injury and everybody's playing really well, I'll be the sixth man. As we got practice and things got going and we start working together as a team a little more and working me into the starters minutes, then we'll go back. But that's what I would have liked to see from Luka, because I think they would have won that game. Maybe. Just.
Yeah. So what's your take on the Celtics being up 3-0?
Their defense has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I love my Marcus Smart.
But Jason Tatum,
He's my favorite player.
Tatum has played phenomenal defense. And Jalen,
Yeah.
Jalen Brantley, they look like the Bulls. I mean, of old.
They're playing very, very well together, and it's just they're playing smart.
Yeah.
Now,
But
would you play Ben Simmons in a game 4 when you're down 3-0?
I agree with Charles Barkley. You're not winning the title this year. No good can come from putting Ben Simmons. Because the first thing I'm doing if I'm the coach? I'm fouling the hell out of Ben Simmons. I'm putting him on the line I'm just going to try to ruin Ben Simmons. I'd much rather let him come in the next season, play in the preseason, get regular season minutes under you. Because again, this team is not going anywhere.
No.
So I don't see any benefit to playing him.
I agree. I'll be curious to see what happens, but I'm hoping I'm with you. I'm hoping they don't play him.
Because as much as you would love to see like Ben Simmons have the mental fortitude, mental toughness, however you want to say it, and I'm not, I suffer from a lot of mental issues, so you know,
He
but
doesn't have it.
he does. He's obviously in a very fragile point in his career, and I
Yeah,
just think,
why risk it?
yeah,
If you waited this long to get him, and you
right.
know he's part of your future, why take a chance? So I'm right with you on this.
Especially because you'd have to win 4 consecutive games when this team,
And that's not going to happen.
no. Especially because I've never seen KD is one of those players that you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. To go back to the old school phrase,
Mm-hmm.
but they're kind of containing him and kind of stopping him a little bit. Like, but as people
Yeah,
have
they're
pointed
playing
out,
smart. They're playing very, very smart.
yeah. But it doesn't look like Brooklyn actually has an offense.
No.
I'm not a coach in the NBA, obviously, so I don't want to, talk shit about Steve Nash. But the Suns ran an offense when he was the point guard of that team. There's lots of motion, lots of movement, and it seems like their offense is KD take a turn, Kyrie take a turn. And if you're going to do that with two guys, those are the two guys you'd want to do it with in the NBA. But you can't win a championship that way.
Well, remember, those are the two guys that said they don't need a coach.
And it doesn't seem like they have one. So, but it's really hard to evaluate Steve Nash as a coach too, because you had 2 years of Kyrie missing 80% of the games with COVID and bullshit. KD's missed with injury. Harden played Harden ball where he was a baby and cried, and I think that didn't they say they played like less than in the 2 years they were together they played like 16 games together, and the
Something
16
like that. Yeah, it's small. It's a very small number.
but in that small sample size they were the most efficient, highest scoring offense in the history of the NBA. You know, so I don't know how, and then obviously Joe what's his face got hurt. Like it's tough to evaluate Steve Nash as a coach. I feel like this is just sort of like let's just do whatever we
Well,
can
it's
to
hard
get.
to evaluate him as a coach. It's hard to evaluate that as a team
Yeah.
because there really hasn't been. So, what's your take on Phoenix and the Pels tonight?
Obviously I'm rooting for the Pels. And again, I wouldn't be mad if Phoenix won the title either. Like, that city's a basketball city. Chris Paul's a great player. He needs a championship. So, but Devin Booker's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, which hurts them a lot.
Yeah. Well, he's had hamstring issues all year. I guess this is just a manifestation of it then.
And he had him last year too.
Yeah.
This could be one of those like. I know Phoenix is pretty famous for a good medical staff, but they need to get in there and really figure out, is there diet to exercise, what we can do to work on these hamstrings.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's some sort of training imbalance or something's not happening correctly.
Well, with him being hurt, that to me throws everything wide open. That anything can happen.
Now, speaking of 6 men coming off the bench that could make a big difference, and big being the key word here, if Zion could somehow be the 6th man and give them some off the bench minutes, that'd be pretty incredible. If he's doing,
Are you talking about that tonight?
no, I don't think so. I don't think they, but he's doing 360 dunks and warm ups and videos to show people, which I don't know what that's accomplishing, other than pissing off the fan base and probably your teammates. But it's also tough to look because when he wears like a sweatshirt, he's got like a thick face. So it's hard to tell what shape he's in,
Yeah.
Like, but you would think if he's doing a 360 dunk and warm ups, even if it looks like it's a very efforted 360, that's still pretty impressive. And even right now, if in the playoffs, if as good as he was on offense when he played for the third of his career that he's played, if he came in and gave them 10 minutes off the bench, like that'd be pretty important, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's going to be fun watching the rest of the games today and this week and see what round 2 looks like. Been fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
NFL draft Thursday night. What are you thinking?
Well, it sounds like a lot of those teams at the top want to trade, and nobody wants to trade with them. So,
you got a landing spot for Baker yet?
I don't know why people keep saying the Steelers, but
No, that's not happening.
No, I mean, in the same way that they signed Josh Dobbs, I'm sure if Baker was a free agent and the Browns were paying him $18 million and the Steelers could bring him in on a veterans minimum deal as a third quarterback, they probably would. But at the same
Yeah,
time,
I,
part
I,
of
I
me,
think you would if you wouldn't have signed Trubisky. I think that that's three quarterbacks that you. Two quarterbacks is tough enough to figure out. Three is
yeah.
impossible.
It also seems like, I mean, they signed Trubisky on the first day of free agency.
Hmm.
He was one of the first signings listed, so that's a guy they wanted. So, you know. But the Steelers have traditionally always had three quarterbacks, and tragically they only have two now after Dwayne passed. So, you know, I'm sure they'll bring somebody in at some point.
It'll be interesting. So I don't know. I don't know if Baker ends up in Seattle like I would think or not.
I I know people have
But I
pointed
think
this.
when the Browns are, they're not going to get any for him.
No.
They're going to end up. Everybody knows they got to cut him loose, and they're gonna pay. And if you think about it now, I mean, even if you trade him, you were going to end up eating most of that salary anyhow. So you're still going to cut him, and then he could end up anywhere. So
Yeah, I think the problem with him is he's only on contract for one more season,
yep,
and he doesn't look like he's an NFL starter as of today. And you know, he's got a little bit of Tebow on him right now, where you bring him in, he's very mouthy. He's not what a lot of coaches or organizations probably want in their quarterback room from a backup. And
no,
he's not helping himself now. Like the best thing he could do now is just shut up, and he can't seem to shut up.
well, I think his highest value is going to be after somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Browns might hold on to him for that and just pay him. But do you really want him there when you're trying to move on and go a different direction? Do you really want him on the roster? I mean, yeah, you'd probably be able to get something for him when somebody goes down, which somebody will go down.
Yeah.
But is it in your best interest to hang on to him? So I don't know.
But I
Where
mean,
it goes is,
right now, when you look at guys that are still available, like if I'm just looking for a bridge quarterback, whether I'd rather bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year.
well, is your first quarterback off the board in the draft? Is it Pickett or is it Malik Willis?
Well, I still have from my initial FanDuel winnings because I didn't lose all my Super Bowl money. Um, I think Malik Willis is going top 10.
Okay.
And I think we might see 4 quarterbacks in the first round, and I think 2 in the top 10 is possible. And I think Desmond Ritter is going to go in the top 20.
Okay.
And then I think whether it's Detroit or somebody else, somebody at either 30, 31, I could see the Chiefs, depending on what happens, because they have those back-to-back picks. I could see somebody swooping in, offering them a second and a third to move up in the first to get like a fifth-year option on Matt Corral. You know?
Yeah, let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting draft. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on a plane from 8 to 10:30, so I'm going to miss most of the first round. But you and I said we would try and do the draft Friday or Saturday so we can kind of do the recap and everything. So
Yeah, I
our
think
next show is primarily going to be a draft show.
we shoot for Saturday morning. That way we have the first 3 rounds in the books. That's what we want to hear about, and we'll give our in-depth
Okay.
analysis.
So that's what we'll do. It'll be next week's going to be a draft show with some NBA updates.
Yeah, because unless something giant happens in the NBA, like I do know Joel Embiid has a torn thumb ligament in his non-shooting hand, so we will see how that affects him moving forward.
Yep.
And I guess we
I
have
want to shout out to Tyson Fury.
yeah,
He's a fun guy to watch, and I like his attitude. I like what he does. I like how he talks, and I like how he's just a really engaging kind of a guy. And it's not often that you like the Giant, right?
well, as a
Not everybody loves
semi-giant in
Goliath.
regular life, I do root for the Giants.
But he is a giant. He's a Goliath, but he's very, very likable.
He is. Oh, and shout out to Mike Tyson for punching a passenger for being an asshole.
Yeah.
He should
Maybe we
probably
need more of
have.
that. Maybe every flight should have like a Mike Tyson on it.
I think it might be good because there's one on every plane, and the threat of Mike Tyson, just randomly, like you don't know which flight he's going to be on, but
Yeah.
maybe that's a career for all ex-boxers. Each airline could hire one, and they just put them randomly on a plane, and and sneakily in that 6 pages you signed to get your ticket, it just says if you're an asshole, we can punch you, and I think it would make for some polite people.
Did you see the video?
I did.
And what was your thought?
I mean, I realize it's you're hoping that you get to sue him, but I mean, unless I have guaranteed money, I'm not going to take a punch from Tyson. I don't care what age he is.
I don't care how old he is or how much he hasn't worked out. It's still Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, he's a naturally gifted boxer. Besides all the training he did, and I'm sure he could just destroy somebody.
No doubt.
Well, on the
It's still
non-sport,
too early in baseball for me to comment on baseball.
well, the Pirates lost by 3 touchdowns yesterday. That was kind of exciting, right?
Yeah, it was the worst defeat in years, and my guy Mike Trout hit 2 home runs yesterday. That's my positive takeaway for the day.
There you go.
Entertainment?
I got 2 for you.
Whoa. Okay.
The first one comes with a caveat, like you've got to be into the right kind of mood to watch the show. But the A24 film Snowpiercer, which is sort of a class, a class allegory about a giant train that's traveling around the world.
Yeah. Okay.
They made a TV show with David Diggs from he's the star from obviously from Hamilton's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got Sean Bean, Jennifer Connelly, and it's a pretty well done drama with a lot of things going on in terms of class and the environment and all that sort of stuff, but done in a pretty exciting way. It's going into its 4th season. I've watched the first season and a half, and I'm into it. It's not the best show ever, but it's quite good.
Okay, so it carries itself.
It carries itself. You don't need to see. I mean, you don't have to have seen the movie at all. You can go into it completely blind. And he does not sing in it, but David Diggs is very very good. I don't know if it's David or David because he got the 2 E's in it.
I think it's David.
David, yeah, but he's very good.
Okay.
And then the second show, and this is one we can bring up our business moment, if you will. On Netflix is Anatomy of a Scandal, which is like a 6-part British, did he commit a crime? Did he not commit a crime? With Sienna Miller and Rupert Fiend. It's very good. But as Netflix stock continues to fall, and they talk about different reasons, obviously there's a lot more competition now. Their price went up. And a lot of the stuff they used to have on the network is no longer there. Like they lost The Office. They lost, some of the things that used to just be there, all the Disney stuff that was on Netflix that is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I've heard, and I've read articles about it, I was thinking about it with this show. Like it's not the greatest story ever, but it's compelling. And there's a lot of, mystery and, do you think he did it? Do you not think he did it? But we binged it over the course of this weekend, and we'll never talk about it again. But if you had released it in a more traditional way, not only do you keep people engaged for more than a month, but maybe you get a little buzz. Maybe people are talking about it,
Okay.
And as nice as it is from time to time to get the dump, that...
Okay, so this is Netflix, Anatomy of a Scandal.
Mm-hmm. But
Okay,
just...
check it out.
But they were talking about, like, one of the problems with Netflix is, like, they lost, obviously, all their non-original content, which I think hurts them a lot, Just people loved binging The Office and I know they have Seinfeld now, but they had everything for a while. But they were also talking about
why did they lose it? Do you know? Or
Oh.
they just had an option for so long.
They had an option for so long, and then once everybody else got their streaming up to date, like there's no reason, like why would Disney let them keep the Disney stuff?
Right, and really, why if everybody else has it, why would you pay a premium to keep it?
And if I have the Office, I'm not letting anybody have the Office. It's not me on Peacock,
Mm-hmm.
But just like they were talking about the show Winning Time, which I have not watched, and I know it's obviously somewhat controversial, but their numbers have gone up every single week because it's been a talked about show,
Right.
Whereas something like Anatomy of a Scandal, which is, it's a 6-part, 6 hours or 6 50-minute episodes, but it's really well done and it's an interesting story. And there's a lot of mystery behind it. And maybe if it had gone, you had it each week, all of a sudden it feels much more like like, oh, I can catch up right now. I need to get that so I can, so there's a finale, there's that build up. And we don't have that with any Netflix shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there, you binge it for the weekend and then you pretty much, there's no one to talk, there's no discussion about it. Where a show like Winning Time that HBO is sort of, you got 2 to start and then it's just been 1 a week. And granted, they've been helped by the controversy, obviously.
Yeah, and so I will tell you this. So I read Winning Time last week.
Okay.
So I read it cover to cover, and I got to tell you, I think the show follows the book pretty good. Even though the book's over a much longer period of time.
Right.
The book goes all the way up to Pat Riley leaving. So, and that's not going to go. This is going to be a year at best, and they might decide to do a second year. But the Jerry West theatrics aren't in the book.
Yeah,
Throwing the trophy to himself, that's not in the book. So that's licensed. But people will tell you that Jerry West was very profane and very, very hard-headed and very tough to work with.
I'm sure, but
but throwing the trophy and everything, I don't think that happened, and I think that's the drama, and I think that's what he's asking for the apology for, the crazy stuff.
And the 3-way and the other stuff, like, it's also weird because, like, the show has admitted they make up white lies for drama.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird to do a show based on real people that are still alive that most people that follow that would be interested in the show know of on some level.
Yeah.
And then
if I'm Paul Westhead,
yeah,
I probably want a letter too because it makes him look like a buffoon.
And Pat Riley doesn't look very good. I mean, it's
Pat Riley looks, as for somebody who's dressed, in Armani suits and always looking really, really good.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that he was dressed like that, but I guess that was the style in that period of time, and maybe he was in style then. I don't know, but I mean, the outfits he wears on that show are kind of bizarre. So
it seems like they're trying to do a show based loosely on these. It seems like it'd be better if it was Magical John and Kareem Abdul-Lahoof.
We're going to get to see Magic tell his side of the story. This on his documentary. I forget what station that's on. There's four shows.
Maybe. But it just, if you're using real people and you don't have their rights, like, it doesn't seem like you should be able to make up parts of the story.
Agreed. So I'll be curious as to how Magic's story comes through. I mean, in the book and in the show, I mean, he's a sex fiend. He's obsessed with having sex.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a really nice piece basically saying the show is crap too. But but Kareem's a really good writer, and it's a really, Kareem sort of points out the thing where it's like, you don't have anybody's signed off on this, and nobody's giving you rights to change a story that you're making stuff up of real people, and that just doesn't seem like that's remotely okay to do.
Yeah, but again, the Kareem portrayal is very spot on from the book.
Right, but I don't think any of these people like the book either.
No, but I mean, I think if the book didn't have a lot of fact, we'd heard a lot about that when the book came out and continuing on, right? The fact that it's only this dramatization of the book that's causing the hard feelings and the angst, that's probably indicative of you've taken it too far. But the book, if you read the book, I mean, there's enough stuff in the book.
I know from listening to another sports podcast where they talk about the book. The book was sort of, it never got a mainstream audience though. And it seems like most of the people that were into the book but the book sort of knew where the license, and they sort of knew where the license was and wasn't. Like, whereas now this is like, an HBO show on the premiere Sunday night in front of the world. It's not like,
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. And it's kind of fun to see where people take it.
Yeah. And it accomplished what HBO probably wanted to accomplish, where it's a show people are talking about outside of the realm of sports. So,
Yeah, absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah, and because it's Showtime was as much about entertainment as it was about basketball,
yeah,
and so that's what comes out. So I don't know. All I know is I look forward every Sunday night at 9 o'clock.
yeah. Well, that's what they want. Like you said, people are talking about it. It's in the regular news, it's in the entertainment news, and the sports news,
Yeah,
and the
I mean,
viewers
I'm
have gone
happy
up
to
every
watch.
week.
I'll be watching it tonight.
Yeah.
I didn't have a food moment. Nothing that I thought was exceptional. So I've got nothing.
I did eat the gold belly sweet potato pie you sent me, and it was very good. But I know sweet potato pie is sort of, I guess a little more niche than I thought.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much a Southern thing.
It is. But this was a very good one. So,
I was going to go to Crumble this week because they had a Boston cream pie cookie,
huh.
and I didn't make it. So I feel bad about that. That was one that, and they served that one chilled, and I thought, that would that's an interesting one. I would go for that one.
And again, their package, I mean, if you haven't been to Crumble, their packaging and business model is really good.
Yeah, and they have a series of cookies that are served warm, and a series of cookies that are served cool, chilled,
And four new
and a
cookies.
series of cookies that
Yeah.
are served room temperature.
And four new cookies every week. So,
Yeah,
if you miss it this time, you got to wait months before it comes back around. Like they've, you
yeah.
know.
I feel bad that I missed that one. The Boston cream pie looked really, really good.
But, like I said, I'm impressed by their marketing.
No question. And I mean, they've got a pretty widespread delivery. So, I mean, they're all over the country. So I think our listeners, there should be a Crumble. I would assume there's going to be a Crumble near you, and you should check it out because it's a really good product. And the way they tease out the flavors and rotate the flavors, I think that's a good way to go. I mean, it keeps you excited and you want to go to the website and see what's coming up next week.
And they have a giant, when you walk in, it's a giant open kitchen. So you can watch them prepping and you watch them making just everything from scratch in the restaurant. So
Yeah.
that's always a comforting, sometimes it's nice to know where your food comes from.
It is. I agree.
So look forward to next week's big draft show, which I'm very excited for.
I am too because, I know we've had mock drafts every year and a lot of build up. It just seems like this year we've had more mock drafts and more build up than I've ever seen.
I think, again, we'll discuss this probably more at the beginning of next show, but it sounds like everybody knows there is talent in this draft, but there's no sexy talent. Like, there's not a quarterback. Running backs, like Bryce Hall and those guys aren't going to go till the second round, maybe late first at the earliest. And then while there's a lot of really good wide receivers, it's sort of a, pick your flavor, picking a Crumble, where you've got like 6 or 7 guys that you could see being the first wide receiver taking and you couldn't argue with it. And then you have like another 20 that, you got like 25 wide receivers that are probably going to go in the first 3 rounds, and any of them could end up being the best wide receiver in the class.
And I believe that's true.
There's no Pitts, there's no Chase, there was no tank for Tua, no Joe Burrow. Again, some of these quarterbacks could be better than all those guys. Some of these receivers could be better than Jamar Chase, but going in, there's no sex appeal to this draft.
No, it's going to be fun to watch, though. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we're going to see a lot of trades. I mean, it could get, what we've seen, this could go, all these mock drafts could totally fall apart on Thursday night.
Well, what people are saying, I've read, this is the last interesting thing I'll throw out there, is that, they always have, if you're a draft fan, if you're not, basically there's a trade value chart saying that if you're going to trade the third pick, it's worth A plus B plus C. But they're saying in a draft like this, where the value of the third pick isn't as high, that maybe people will throw out the chart and move around for less than they normally would move around for, which could potentially make for more trades. Because the value's not there for somebody to move from the Steelers. Let's say they really love Malik Willis. They have to give up a lot to go from 20 to 5 based on the draft chart. But maybe in a year like this where the talent's a little bit more spread out and it's not as obvious who the players are, that maybe, instead of it being A plus B plus C, you could move up for just A and B, and you get to keep another asset if you're the Steelers. So that's something to potentially look out for. So thanks all the Patreon support. We always could use more, and more interaction with the show would be great.
And you know what? I'm going to close with a book recommendation.
Okay.
Chasing the Boogeyman. Okay?
Okay.
I think the guy's name's Michael Chizinski. And it's, when I read, on Amazon, I read all the other authors writing blurbs about it, why you should read it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen King wrote a blurb that was enough to make me want to buy the book, so I did. And I read it in less than 24 hours, and I would tell you it's one of the best fiction novels about crime, serial killer that I've ever read.
Oh.
I mean, it's just
wow.
really, 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 and you know what? When you get to the end, you'll be blown away.
Okay, so I need to read that book before it already gets picked up and becomes a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. Really good.
Okay, that's exciting.
And his writing style he's very, very good. I mean, a lot of times you read these guys, this guy has literary talent.
That's exciting.
I was very impressed with it. And he's written some things with Stephen King. He's written the Gwendy's Button Box and a couple different novels that are related that they've done together. So, I mean, there's a Stephen King, probably you could say he had a vested interest in promoting him, but it was really good.
But it sounds like he promoted somebody he believes in, which is nice.
Yeah, it was really good. You will really enjoy this.
Sounds like we should have led the show off.
Jones, if you're listening to this, you'll love this book.
We should have led the show off with this recommendation, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think about it till right at the end, because I just, I started it on Friday and finished it on the plane on Friday, and Saturday afternoon I didn't have anything to do while I was waiting for the game, and I finished it. It was that good.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll be talking to you. We'll be available a day earlier this week because we'll come and do the show on Saturday rather than Sunday.